Hey everyone, Hans here. Today we're doing a bit of a longer video and a video I'm pretty excited about because it's going much deeper into strategy that actually goes into these cold email campaigns. So you're mostly used to clay builds and more technical stuff from me, but strategy is a really big part of what I do and what I probably enjoy the most, even more than building stuff in clay. So I'm really excited about going into this today. I know some people requested it. They said, okay, clay tables look great, but how do you actually decide what you're going to build, why you're going to build, or what you're actually going to send? So today I'm going to show you most of it. Now I haven't fully built out these campaigns yet, but I've just drafted them, and this is what I'm going to build next Monday. We're recording this on Friday. But I can already run you through it, run you through my thought process and all that, and hopefully, you'll find it helpful, get some inspiration out of it. We're going to be working with a sort of a smaller agency on a pilot for a new offer that we're about to roll out. So more about that later, which is again something I'm really excited about. But for now, let's just go through it and see what we come up with for this client. So this is the client that we're going to work with, that we're going to run the pilot with. They're called Hopnop, which is a great name, catchy for sure. So what they do is in a nutshell, they help you optimize your e-commerce store pages so they load faster, and they optimize them for conversion so they convert better and you make more money, which is always good. So CRO focused, they have some really great case studies on their website, testimonials, etc. And the best part is that it's sort of a pay on performance type thing with a really strong guarantee, where they first will do all the work, and only if it looks good and it performs good, that's when you actually pay them. And again, some really good case studies in there that are just pretty exciting to share with clients. Then I'm not going to run you through the entire website, but if you want to check it out for yourself, that's hopnop.com. So that's what they do. And what we're going to do is we're going to build out a bunch of campaigns from scratch. So I have most of them here now. um, I always start with, sort of bottom of funnel, which doesn't really apply here, but I call it bottom of funnel because I can. So you basically want to start the closest to, where your audience likely hangs out. You could say, okay, I'm going to run a bunch of cold campaigns and sort of guess, which of these 500,000 people could be my audience. And I'm going to apply all these filters in Apollo and whatever. You could do that. Or you can find sources or places or things where others already did most of the work for you, or where, the audience, they naturally hang out and they naturally come to. So in most cases, that is competitors, right? They already did a great job at attracting your ideal client, and then you just gotta swoop in there and ideally pick them up. And they could be existing clients of your competitors, potential clients, previous clients, what have you. So in this case, he was able to give us one competitor called Nostra.ai, which is not a direct competitor, but they do something pretty similar. If you're interested in Nostra, then chances are you're also interested in Hopnop, their services. So what we're going to do, we're going to take Nostra, the main competitor. Now, because we only have one, but I'm very confident there are more. We could do a bunch of Google searches, but we're lazy. So we're actually going to build a lookalike audience of their closest competitor. And then we're going to get the employees from those competitors that have the most followers. So if you have, like, for example, already saw that their founder has like 15K or 14K followers on LinkedIn. He's posting there actively. That's great. That's a really good source for us to find our audience. We can grab his followers, so we can filter and contact followers of those people. We can use Sales Navigator for that. And I'll show you in a second how we can do that. So we get their followers, their connections, and we actually add them to our post interaction flow as seed accounts. And what that means is we have a workflow where we're using Phantom Buster. If you're not familiar, this is Phantom Buster. And in a previous video, I went through the exact flow. I'm not going to do it again now because then this video is going to be 3 hours long. But basically, we have a workflow uses Phantom Buster to check all these accounts of these influencers or salespeople or founders of competitors. Whenever they post, we grab that post, and everyone who interacts with that post and who fits our ICP, they go into a campaign. So that's what we're going to do here. In this case, the founder of Nostra, but of their other competitors, we're going to get their founder or their SDRs or whoever is most active on LinkedIn, and we're going to add them to that flow. And then we're also going to get the company page followers from Nostra and from the competitors and add them to a general campaign. So let's just go through this a little bit more before we dive into the rest. So first in here in Panda Match, I haven't tried if they're able to come up with solid matches. Otherwise, maybe we can try it different. There are multiple ways to build lookalike audiences. So right now, maybe because I added these keywords, it's not coming up with any results. I don't know if I have any credits actually on Panda Match. Maybe I need to buy more credits. Let's see. So here we go. And not all of them seem like great fits. I think because Nostra, that's an Italian name word. So let me see. Let me just only find companies in the United States of America. Okay, so it seems that Panda Match is only able to give us a few decent results, and like a bunch of them, they're not great results. Fireshark, what is that? That sounds awesome. Cybersecurity consulting, well, that's not super relevant. And then Raiden also sounds pretty cool. Also not really relevant. So that is what it is. Well, I'll play around with this a little bit more, and then if Panda Match doesn't give us good fits, we can jump into Ocean, or we can manually search on Google, or we can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator. There's a bunch of different ways we can build that lookalike audience, and then once we have that, we get their followers from their founders, etc. So that's the main thing. We're gonna build that actual lookalike audience of their main competitors, and then use it as a seed for these main audiences right here. Then if you want to know how to get competitor page followers, check out my other post that I did on that. That is also on LinkedIn. So we have that. That's great. We're really close to the source there, which are usually the best performing campaigns, but they're pretty small, right? So they're small audiences. You cannot really update them too frequently unless you have people who are really frequently posting and you have a really big list of them. But usually these are really small campaigns, so you cannot really rely on them. Even though they're your best performing ones, you just want to leave them running in the background. And that's that. They'll bring you a bunch of leads per month, so that's great. Then what I was going to show you how to get the followers of these people, right? So there's a couple ways to do it. You can go to linkedin.com/search/results/people, and then in here you can go to followers of, for example, this. I remember a post from him. That's why I'm putting him in there. So these are followers of AJ, and he has more, but these are the ones that we're able to access. So that's one way of doing it. Or you can use this right here. If you're connected with the person, you can get some of their connections. Or then here in Sales Navigator, you're able to get a bigger list of their connections, but only if you're actually connected to that person, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I'm connected to Gary Vee. Exactly. So only if you're connected to that person, you're able to get their connections in Sales Nav, but you can connect. If they're salespeople, they'll connect with you either way, most likely. So that's a couple of ways you can get that. So that's that right there. We can wrap that up. Then they have some, like I said, some pretty exciting case studies. So what we're going to do, we're going to build lookalike audiences of those case studies. So case study number one, lookalike audience number one. We're going to send that case study to that lookalike audience saying, hey, one of their case studies, a fitness store, for example, saying, hey, we help this fitness store do this or that. So it's just more or less like a general campaign with a slight tweak, and we're making sure that we're sending the relevant case study to the relevant lookalike audience. Again, not a really big audience. Usually it's something you can run maybe every quarter, as your close. Depends also on your deal velocity, I guess. But again, not really something you can rely on, but still one that you definitely want to run at least once every 6 months. Then these are a couple keywords that we came up with. So this should probably be conversion, rate optimization, like speed for e-com stores. Like this needs a lot of tweaking, but this, it's just to give you an idea of what we're going to do here. These we're going to plug into LinkedIn. We're going to search for them, and then whoever interacts with posts around this. So speed for e-com stores. Imagine someone posts about the importance of speed for e-commerce stores. Whenever someone interacts with that post, they like it, they comment on it, and they fit our ICP, then that's going into the general campaign as well, or a copy of the general campaign, so we can see how that one performs, right? So we're going to come up with some better keywords. We're going to see just how relevant the posts are that come up when we search for those keywords, and then we're going to add the people who interact with that to a copy of the general campaign, just to see how that performs versus the other campaigns. Then we have general campaigns. So we have about four general campaigns, and within each general campaign there are different variations like ABC versions. But general campaigns, they go to different personas. So there will be to founders, to head of e-commerce, to marketing growth personas, and to PPC personas, so people who run paid ads, because each persona would have a different value prop that would resonate with them. And then within there, we're going to segment by whether or not they're running ads. So if they're running ads, we're going to say something like, hey, you're running a bunch of ads to a landing page that isn't that's loading super slow. You're wasting a bunch of money. And if they're not, we're going to say your main page is loading slow. You're wasting a bunch of money. So for anyone who didn't catch my last video, just to show you what I'm talking about here. So we built this list right here of e-commerce founders. We checked how fast their website is loading, their general website, and we're always going to get, if it's loading slow, then we can reach out to them. And then we have some AI to personalize stuff, nothing too exciting. Then we're also checking whether or not they're running social ads. We built an API for that. If you want access to that, let me know. And then the cool part is we can actually see, okay, how many ads they're running, but we can also see how fast that page is loading. So they're running ads so in this case, they're running ads to their main page. So, okay, great. We already know how fast that's loading. But also here, for example, they're running ads to a product page, and then we can actually mention that product page, saying, hey, so you're running ads to this product or this collection. This is how long it takes to load. You're running like 11 ads to it, or you're running like 11 ads. So, Facebook ads is something that you're spending a bunch of money on, and maybe you're wasting. That's the general idea what we're going to say there. So that's, a general campaign that we're running, different variations, different personas. Then new hires campaign is something that always works well. So we're basically going to take the same personas except for founders, and for obvious reasons. And then we're going to more or less have the same campaign. We're going to test it against something that sort of touches upon them being recently hired, saying, now that you've been hired, have you already, had time to check out how your website is performing? Would you like for us to have a look at it? So that's the new hires campaign. If our main personas, they get hired in the last 6 months, they go into that campaign. Then Upwork campaign, which is one that I haven't 100% decided on yet whether I'm not going to run it, is and again, I've done a video on that a few months ago. And we're checking Upwork postings, and we're basically going to check more as these keywords, saying, hey, if someone posts, can you help me optimize my Shopify store and make it convert better and run faster? Then we're scraping all that. Like we have an RSS feed where we get every single Upwork post that matches those keywords. We get that. Then we use AI to see if it's relevant. Then we use AI to see who posted that. Match rate is pretty low there, but we're able to get, like a 20-ish% match rate. And those are obviously super high intent. Then we further qualify them, see, okay, is this like at least a big enough company or whatever? And then we reach out by email. It's my lower confidence campaign, so I haven't 100% decided yet whether I'm not going to run it. Our B2B campaign is, a must-have. So whenever someone visits the website, we reach out to them. Then we probably want to check versus cold outreach audiences. So if imagine someone got a cold email from us, and then they visit our website, then we probably want to say something different to them versus people who just cold visited our website potentially, right? Or at least we want to be aware of that and maybe, score those people or make a note in HubSpot saying they also visit our website. So even if they didn't reply, then we know they've been doing some research. And then maybe we can, find their phone number, actually pick up the phone, say, saw you were checking us out, what's up? More or less, right? And then the job opening campaign. So we're going to look for companies within our total addressable market that have job openings for developers, designers, where maybe they talk about optimizing our Shopify store, that type of thing. So that's another campaign that we could run. So the campaigns that I have the most confidence in, new hires campaign, that is usually the best performing one, where we can say, okay, and this actually makes for a really great email. I sort of skimmed over it earlier, but it's a really great campaign where you can say, saw you've recently been brought on as, head of e-commerce at Nike. Have you had a chance yet to check out how fast your landing pages are loading, your product pages are loading? Or you know what, I did you a favor, I ran some of your product pages, they're loading pretty slow. Could one of your first projects maybe be to work with us to optimize them? So that's a campaign that I'm really, really confident in. And then like these right here, they always perform really well, like competitive campaigns, that type of thing, they perform really well. So those are the two campaigns that I'm most excited about. But the rest I'm also super excited about. Otherwise, I would not build them. So that's, our general strategy. So we come into this Hopknop, we check out their website, we talk with the founder, they fill out some questions. So we have a little bit of background. And then once we have that, I started digging for myself a little, and this is what I come up with. Usually, like I already know which type of campaigns perform the best, and then you just gotta put like a little twist on it that works best for this client, that applies best to this client. So that's that. Then some quick campaigns. So some things that I already ran through my other video. So I'm not going to go too deep in this now, but basically, I checked out your website and it's loading pretty slow. Those are just super short, really general campaigns. I'm not going to send this as is. These are some of the thoughts that I had that I put out on paper or Google Doc in this case. And then one that I just came up with that I think could also potentially work pretty well is where we have their ads and we can see where they're running ads to, and we can say, hey, like sort of a story saying, so you're running ads to this and that product page. In my experience, a lot of e-com landing pages are loading slow. That means you're, losing money. I'll run it through some speed tests, see what comes up, no strings attached. And then a day later saying, just ran your pages through some tools, and turns out it take about this or that long to load on mobile, which is pretty long. How about, we use our system to upgrade them, optimize them, and you only pay us after you make more money from it. So that's one angle that I'm potentially just going to test. Like that could be, just like a test campaign or like a B version, C version, that, storytelling type thing, which in the industry I've seen perform pretty decent with others. And so we're going to, now that we have that we have the campaigns that we want to build, first we're going to build the list and build the campaigns, and then we're going to write the copy based off of that. I'm just going to keep writing just drafts as they come into my head, as they come up, as I'm building the list, and I actually see some data in front of me. Then I usually think, oh man, with this data I could actually write this or that. That's pretty cool. So as I'm building out the data, as I'm building out the tables, then on my other screen, I just write out some notes, some really quick, like this I wrote in like a minute and a half, just really, really quick. And now I'm probably going to run it through Twain. If you're not familiar with Twain, this is Twain. And then, you can just drop it in here. It will rewrite it for you. It will write some cool stuff for you. And it's the only writer that I've actually been pretty or really impressed with. And that's so those are like the main things that we're going to be running. That's how I usually work. Check out the website, get a lot of information. Then that information, you apply that to what you already know, knowing, okay, I can do competitive campaigns. I can check for keywords. I can build lookalike audiences. New hire campaigns always work really well. Our B2B and job opening campaigns. So you have those already, and then you can start thinking about your general campaign to like a really cold audience. Where and then you can start thinking about, okay, how can I make this relevant? In this case, it's site load speed and checking if they're running ads, yes or no. But it's not just about saying, okay, I'm going to come up with this one really good cold email campaign, right? Instead, we have all these small campaigns that we know are going to perform well. We know that from experience, and then sort of cherry on top, almost doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but not all of it, is the general campaign. So that's how I mostly go from here's a client that we're going to run a pilot with. This is what they do. To, okay, this is what I'm going to build. This is how I'm going to do it. This is what I'm going to write. So the writing comes last. First, I focus on the data, and as I'm building the data, some ideas usually come up. I just really quickly write them down on paper. Then by the end of building out everything, I have like 20 something different drafts of emails. Then there's tweaking, optimizing, and all that, and then you get your final campaign. So that's that. Hopefully that was helpful to some of you. If you have questions about that, then most definitely let me know. Maybe I can dive a little bit deeper into some of these in a more in-depth video. For now, as always, thanks for watching. Have a good one.